of daily cases is at 173. Now, the positivity rate is at 8.2%. That's down by about 5% from last week, which was in turn down about 5% for the week previous. So we've seen 2 consecutive weeks of dropping by about 5 percentage points. That's really good news. That puts us on a good trajectory, and we're happy to see it. We are guardedly optimistic about the data that we're seeing. Right now, 66.9%, a little over 2/3 of our total population has been fully vaccinated. That includes 95.5% of the adult population that's received at least 1 dose, and 58.1% of young people ages 5 to 17 having received at least 1 dose. Dr. Vegna, of course, does want to have me remind everybody, please go out and get boosted if you have not already done that. And it's another reminder that as of February the 1st, at the beginning of this month, individuals 5 and over, all adults and children over the age of 5, are required to show proof of vaccination or a negative test to access businesses like bars, restaurants, and event spaces. That includes all carnival activities. That includes Mardi Gras balls. So again, as you're coming down from Mardi Gras, we want you to come down. We want to celebrate. We want you to celebrate safely. That is going to require proof of vaccination or a negative test to enter our bars, restaurants, or those event spaces. That will remain in effect throughout Mardi Gras. The numbers are going down, but we need to continue to take this seriously. One stat that leaped out at me that was fairly startling, since this started, the total number of deaths of children under the age of 17 in Louisiana, there have been 18. 18 children have been killed by this virus since the beginning of the pandemic. The total number of deaths from the vaccine is 0. The total number of deaths from those wearing masks is 0. So please do take it seriously. Get boosted if you haven't already, and mask up wherever possible. One more note on that piece, the health department is looking for more volunteers to man first aid stations during Mardi Gras. If you'd like to be a part of that, you can contact the Public Health Emergencies and Environmental Health. It's PHEEH@NOLA.gov. A couple announcements, and then we will move to questions. Later this afternoon, Commissioner Tanisha Stevens of the Office of Criminal Justice Coordination will be hosting an interagency call with representatives from the DA's office, Councilmember Eugene Green, Sheriff Marlon Gussman, and of course, Police Chief Sean Ferguson. That's part of the continuing dialogue around public safety and on coordinated efforts to continue to make the city safer. There's also going to be a press conference later this afternoon. Mayor Cantrell is going to be joined by CAO Gilbert Montano right here at this podium at about 3 o'clock. They're going to be discussing efforts to reform recruitment and retention practices for the city. Right now, about 81% of the city's budgeted positions are currently filled, and we're looking at a plan to recruit and maintain 100% workforce in the city. So you'll hear more about that later today from Gilbert and from the mayor. And with that, we'll move to questions.
LBJ?
Hey, good morning, Paul.
Good morning.
Two things. First is, with regards to the mayor and the gentleman yesterday, what's his name, who was arrested for?
Tyrese Harris.
Tyrese Harris.
There we go.
Thank you so much. The mayor mentioned that she
Yep.
was personally involved in that family and trying to get some help for this young man. Can you expound on that?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So Mayor Cantrell first came into contact with Tyrese Harris in January of last year. That was through a referral from a local pastor who reached out because he believed there was a threat on the family's life. The mayor met with both the young man and his mother in her office on at least 2 occasions, and she made arrangements for the family to be relocated outside of New Orleans. They were briefly relocated, but they ultimately returned to the city, and the man fell into a situation where he was again in a life of violence. This young man, unfortunately, slipped out of our hands, but the contact was made, and it was not for lack of trying. This mayor is absolutely committed to continue to try. Again, this is a situation where the mayor herself was directly involved with that family going back over a year, and he slipped through our fingers. But the mayor's continued to keep trying and to keep engaging wherever possible.
What office, is that through the Family, Youth and Families office?
That specifically was through the mayor herself.
Wow.
The pastor reached out to the mayor, and the mayor brought in this young man and his mother and did everything in her power to avoid what ultimately ended up happening. There was a murder, an individual lost their life, and that's a tragedy. That's something that we can't get away from. But again, it was not for lack of trying, and certainly not for lack of engagement. The mayor one-on-one with this specific young man over a year ago.
Harrison?
Yes, firstly, though, the city obviously have giving funds help to relocate tenants of Joshua Bruno's project.
We don't talk about Bruno. You walked into it. No, I'm sorry, go ahead.
All good, all good. But yes, obviously, city offering its help. to
Right,
these tenants,
yes.
I mean, hundreds potentially. But why did the city jump in? What led that?
Well, obviously, the city was made aware of the bankruptcy filing by Bruno, let's see, that was for the courts, enforced a financial restructuring and management oversight, presenting an opportunity for the housing units to be fully rehabilitated. I know that Marjorie and her team met with residents last, I believe it was on the 6th, that would have been Sunday, and they're continuing to work with folks wherever they can to provide assistance. Obviously, there's an upper threshold to how much we can provide, but up to that point, we're going to do the best we can. Tenants with questions and concerns can contact OCD directly, calling 504-658-4232, or they can visit the office directly. They're at 1340 Poitras, right across the street.
Is there a deadline for asking for?
Not that I'm aware, but obviously the sooner the better.
Okay, Erica?
Can you discuss NOPD's plan to make sure that the parade routes for Mardi Gras are adequately staffed, as well as the rest of the city, and just maybe give people an idea of how many officers they might see on each block?
Sure,
how the
so-
staffing is gonna work to make sure, you know.
Couple things. We pretty much always have these. I believe this is likely to be next Monday. We always have a big press conference around public safety ahead of Mardi Gras, so I think that will be next Monday. So you'll hear Chief Ferguson, the fire department, the EMS, everybody will be out here to do a deeper dive on what they're doing. I can tell you well, not even most likely, traditionally, and again this year, NOPD will be activated at 100% throughout Mardi Gras. Now that's for all of Mardi Gras parades within Mardi Gras season. That's as it's defined officially, right? So that starts next Friday. Those are what's called a city roll. That's different than a paid detail. So an event like Chewbacs, that's a situation where event organizers work with the Office of Police Secondary Employment, and they set a price, and officers can volunteer to take those details or not, depending on what they want to do, what they're comfortable with, what their appetite is, a number of factors. A city roll is different than that. A city roll is the NOPD is activating at 100%. All officers are on duty for the duration, and that's when we're going to see full staffing up and down the route throughout the event. Again, Chief Ferguson will be able to offer additional details next Monday, but that's the broad strokes of it.
So do you feel, I guess, confident that
Yes.
it will be safe?
Yes, absolutely. We're going to do everything in our power to make it so.
Okay, Olivia, and I'll come to you, Sarah.
I have a couple questions.
Sure.
Yesterday was a peace rally, the mayor's public safety team responded, saying that they were happy to see some council members on board with asking the governor for more help on the streets here in New Orleans. My question is, why wasn't the board and the mayor on the same page several months ago?
So that's an excellent question. We are really glad to see the council getting active on this and taking a role and having, some input here. That's fantastic. But this is not a problem that developed overnight. The crime surge that we're dealing with is something that built for months during the pandemic. And in addition, it's not unique to New Orleans. It's something that's being faced in urban centers all across the country. This is not something that just dropped onto the mayor's radar yesterday or last week. This is something that the mayor has been laser focused on for months. She's had conversations with Governor Edwards going back several months about this specific issue. So it's not a situation where it didn't occur to anyone to ask for resources, right? That didn't just pop out of nowhere. The mayor and the governor have been having these conversations for several weeks, if not months. But the issue is that the manpower issue is not confined to NOPD. Every law enforcement agency in the country is struggling with manpower challenges right now. That's not unique to NOPD. That's not unique to the state police. That's something that everyone is grappling with. And as a result, that constrains what people are able to do, right? It's not a matter of, it never occurred to us to ask for additional resources, right? It's kind of like one of these things where you're watching a football game and one of the commenters goes, well, the strategy here is they need to get some points on the board, right? That's the same thing here. Obviously, everybody wants to put every resource we can make available to do this, but the manpower is simply not there, right? So we are going to continue to work with the state police. Chief Ferguson has been in regular contact with his counterpart, Colonel Davis at the state police, and those conversations are ongoing. The state police are going to be here for Mardi Gras, as you were asking about safety precautions around Mardi Gras. State police will be here to assist us during Mardi Gras, as they always are, and we welcome that support.
Council President Helena Moreno mentioned yesterday that she wants the mayor to join them on that mission to contact the governor and all that. I don't understand the disconnect there.
Nor do I. That's an excellent question, because the mayor's been having conversations with the governor for, again, as I said, months. This is not a new conversation. This is not a new idea. We're happy to see the council taking an interest at this point, but frankly, the mayor and the governor have been working on this for quite a while, and we'll continue to do so.
Is there some sort of lack of communication between the council and the mayor on this issue?
Not that I'm aware of.
Sarah?
It was a bit of a surprise when the Chewbacs route was shortened
Yep.
last week. Is that something that we can expect for the other downtown parades?
Certainly, we hope not, but really, as we've kind of said along, it's going to be case by case. It's going to be down to the bandwidth around each individual event. As I kind of broke out a little bit before, Chewbacs is different from a city role in terms of the resources that are allocated to it and the way that it's structured. So hopefully not, but we can't certainly promise that at this point. It is going to continue to be case by case based on the manpower and the resources that are available for each discrete event.
LBJ?
Yeah, to that end, Bo, so this coming weekend, we've got Crew Boo, which is
Yeah.
also the, under that same umbrella of pre-Mardi Gras.
Right.
If you will.
Right.
And it's setting the rate and not, it depends on having enough officers decide that they want to work the.
Correct, the detail, right.
And my question is that detail rate much lower than what a normal detail is paid for an event or when you hire cops to be a part of something?
So I don't have all the numbers off the top of my head, but I know there's 4 tiers that a vendor can select. If you're having an event, you can determine what tier you want to offer, right?
Got it.
Tier 1 being the lowest, Tier 4 being the highest. And so there's a range of pay within that. And if I'm a vendor and I've got an event and folks aren't signing up, I can decide, well, I'm only offering Tier 1 now, I can go up to Tier 2, 3, 4. So that's within the control of the individual vendor.
Any idea what tier these parades have been offering and whether or not that has played a part in the,
Well,
both the Crew of Boo
sure.
and the Crew of Chewbacca's not having enough people sign up? Because police officers work details all the time.
Correct, yes.
You know,
So to be clear, officers work details all the time on a volunteer basis, right? They get paid for that, but that's what they do on their time. And the city legally cannot mandate them to do that, right? Now, that said, I don't recall what the rate was or the tier was for Crew of Boo, but I'm pretty sure for Chewbacca's it was Tier 3, which is not the bottom, right? It's not, so beyond that, I won't conjecture as to why officers made the decisions they did or didn't. I can't say we're heading into a very busy season, and these men and women have been working extremely hard on the front lines for going on 26 months of this pandemic. So all that said, there's a number of factors at play, but it does feed into this overall conversation about manpower challenges across the board when it comes to law enforcement and public safety.
and currently, do we have enough detail officers that Crew of Boo this weekend?
I don't have the figures on that. I don't know what the latest is on that.
Do you guys think?
Yeah, we can certainly run that down for you. Sure.
Olivia?
Any reaction to Council President Helena Moreno insinuating yesterday that the mayor's office isn't doing enough to combat crime in the city?
Well, I think I've kind of spoken to that fairly exhaustively at this point. I will just say that the mayor has been and continues to be laser focused on public safety. It is absolutely her top priority, and it's something that she has been working on with law enforcement leaders at the state and local level for many, many months now. This isn't something that just happened. This isn't something that just fell under radar, and it is an absolute priority for the mayor, and all of her resources and efforts are focused on it.
And I want to bounce off of LBJ's Tyrese Harris question. Does the mayor often work with juvenile offenders? Is this something he's qualified to do?
The mayor reached out to this family because she believed that she could make a difference. And she engaged directly with them and did everything in her power to get this young man back on the right path. As we said, unfortunately, in this case, he slipped out of our fingers. But that's not going to stop us from trying.
Do you think it hurt the situation?
No.
Harrison?
Yes, so certainly, I mean, you talk about a perceived disconnect, even if there isn't one, between the city council and the mayor. Mayor and the DA, though, I mean, what does this latest, the murder of Derek Cat here, the person arrested here had a record.
Sure.
So what does it say just about the intensity of the DA's work of?
Well, I think as you've heard us say all along, the criminal justice system is a system. All elements of it have to be functioning together to work. I think everybody was very gratified last week to see Chief Ferguson and the DA stand up together and to announce or to reaffirm their commitment going forward to a strong collaborative relationship and a partnership. And that's certainly something we hope to see continue happening.
Sarah?
If you can't get enough local police officers to staff the parade route, do you have the ability to bring them in from other neighboring parishes?
So you mean for Mardi Gras roles?
Yeah.
So traditionally, NOPD is joined by officers from outside the parish. State police are included in that and other agencies from outside. I don't have the figures off the top of my head over who or how many are going to be joining this year. I imagine that will be addressed next Monday at the Public Safety Conference, press conference. So yeah, I guess we'll say ask again next week.
LBJ?
Well, I'm not sure you have an answer for this, but Tyrese Harris, back to him, 2018 in our records, we have a report of a missing kid. He dropped off at school or dropped off, his teacher dropped him off, he gave him the wrong address or whatever. Would this be the same kid as we're talking about now, as an 18-year-old?
I don't have information on that. I'm sorry. I don't know.
Any insight into the feds taking over this case?
That we cannot comment on.
Ben?
Programming questions. Today at 3 o'clock, what are they talking about?
Recruitment and retention.
Citywide workforce?
Yep,
Okay, not just related to police.
correct. No, it's citywide.
But does it include police?
Yes.
Okay.
Secondly, sanitation RFP, aren't we due for that about now?
Yes. Let me run that down and see if I can find it, because I don't believe that it's been out, but it should be out now-ish, so any minute now. Okay.
One of the things, at the French Quarter, a lot of businesses, or at least heard one kind of business saying that it's difficult to get customers because there are just so many films or
Sure.
TV shows filming in that area.
Yep.
What would you just say about the city's role?
Yeah, we've touched on this before. The film industry is a huge component of our economic impact within the city. That said, we always want to balance it between, the potential economic benefits of having the film with the strain for individual residents. And as we've noted recently, due to confluence of events, multiple projects were filming at the same time in approximately the same space, which created a strain. That's really regrettable, and that's something that we're going to look at in the future, making sure that we calendar out in a smarter way so that that doesn't happen. So in that sense, we can only apologize for the inconvenience and say that it was certainly not deliberately inconveniencing anyone in any kind of way, but that going forward, the city is going to take steps to make sure that we're able to balance it a little bit better in the future. Okay? All right, thanks a lot. All right, thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate it.